When folks heard that the devs behind Sifu were making a sporting game, football no less, I'm sure many were confused and or shocked, and for good reason. From a unique, elegant martial arts style game to street style soccer, that's a bloody weird pivot, I thought. But it has released, and from someone who's not really much of a sports fan, I see the vision. This is exactly the kind of thing I'm always prattling on about. Creativity, man. Fresh angles, ideas that shouldn't work but somehow seemingly do. Because at the end of the day, it's not about photorealism or gigantic budgets or even genre. It's about one thing above all else. Creativity is everything. The soccer/football genre. Okay. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be referring to the sport as football from now on because the majority of the world calls it that, even if I do not. Moving on. The football genre has been, well, kind of stale for a while now. This coming from someone who has only been a casual observer of the FIFA games they pump out like clockwork. FIFA 15, FIFA 20, or EAFC, or whatever rebrand they're using now to make it feel fresh. And sure, on the surface those games look updated. The grass is shinier, the sweat physics are glossier, the ball obeys physics better or something. I went, hey, Messi has a new haircut. If that's not an upgrade, I don't know what is. But mechanically, it's the same old formula, really. Same game, slightly altered or bettered maybe, a new soundtrack, and then sold again at full price. And it sells year after year like a ritual. Look, I have to say this before folks lose their mind. If you enjoy FIFA games or any sports games that gets re-released every year, power to you, man. You like what you like. That's fine. I'm just making an observation. And my observation should not detract from your enjoyment of whatever it is you like. Okay? So there are folks like myself, non-sports fans, who grew up during the FIFA Street era. Do you remember when football games had personality? It was a formula we sort of knew, but done in such a way that a hardcore football fan or a casual onlooker of the sport, like myself, could thoroughly enjoy. 3v3, 4v4, whatever, smaller field, urban environments with really cool gameplay and mechanics. It wasn't about realism, it was about energy, flair, style, tricks, hitting a volley off of the wall and landing it with the most insane shot hitting a volley off of a wall and landing it with the most insane shot on goal that you can imagine made you feel godlike. It felt like expressive chaos, a real product of the 2000s. I recall the time when games were about creating something new and unique, about selling you, the player, an experience you wouldn't soon forget. Man, we were spoiled back then. Games like that let you express yourself. Not just play the game, but own the moment. One didn't have to memorize team rosters or care about real-world stats. You just jumped in and showed off. The kind of game that made even non-sports fans like myself suddenly pay attention in a big way. And honestly, that kind of unique approach to a sport game, a style, a freedom in creating something nobody else thought to try, is desperately missing. And then Sloclaps happened. As if out of nowhere, Sloclaps announces they're making a sporting game. Yeah, that's Sloclaps, the indie studio that built its entire identity on the back of fluid, high-impact martial arts with their beloved game, Sifu. A game known for its precision, its intensity, its almost poetic violence. That Sloclaps is now making this football game. And at first glance, it sounded ridiculous. Like a studio that's known for ballet-like brawling suddenly deciding to tackle a sporting genre? Many of folk were likely confused. Some may have even chortled at the idea. I mean, do you blame them? Maybe some thought the corporate side of gaming got a hold of Sloclaps, dangled a lot of money and said, "Make sports game, go!" But if you dig a little deeper, or better yet, watch the trailer, there is something there, chummy. REMATCH is not a typical simulation game. It's not trying to mimic the real-life physics of a football match or get the exact texture of a turf field just right. It's not interested in realism for realism's sake. What it is energy. Plain old fun. That thing we forgot? Imagine if FIFA Street had a love child with Rocket League. That's honestly the best way to describe it. But even that is not quite right, really. Because when Rocket League embraced chaos through cars, and FIFA Street gave you skills and turkeys on the pavement, REMATCH brings you something else entirely. This is small team soccer, 3v3, 4v4, etc., but they make it their own. Oh, and the rules have changed. They've adopted a more street-style soccer approach to it. It essentially has a modern video game take on the street-style idea of football, you know? No throw-ins, corner kicks, goal kicks, offsides, just high-energy football with a simple idea of go, 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 and make it look cool if you can. That feeling of playing in a back alley with your friends where the walls are your sidelines and the rules don't matter half as much as the style points. Yeah, that's it. There's a deliberate focus on movement, impact, and, well, flair, obviously. Every pass, every tackle, every goal has a kind of exaggerated weight to it. It's arcadey, sure, but that's what makes it fun. And look, let's be clear. Rematch does not care about hyper-realistic stadium lighting. It doesn't care if the jerseys wrinkle properly or if the players' shoelaces react to wind. It's not trying to compete with EA FC in terms of technical fidelity. It's, well, itself entirely. The game is a spectacle, it's theatrical, it's expressive, and honestly it's a bit refreshing. Because in a game world that's often obsessed with realism, photogrammetry, and ultra-resolution textures, sometimes all we really want is a game that understands vibe and aesthetic over visual fidelity. Rematch gets that. It's a playground, not a simulator. And in that decision alone, Sloclaps already sets themselves apart. Now, there might be an argument around the idea of games having to be very flashy to keep our attentions now. Everything has to be very busy, very colorful to kind of compete with other games now. And there is something to that for sure. But if you evolve and maintain creative integrity, carry on, I think. This right here is what I mean when I say creativity trumps everything. Everything. And I'm going to keep repeating that until it sets in. Rematch is not going to win awards for best visuals. It's not trying to be realistic or believable or it doesn't need to be. Not every game has to be a technical showcase because Sloclaps knows that's not what makes a good game memorable. Almost every game that takes up room in your brain's recesses had a striking, memorable visual identity, often accompanied with great fun gameplay. So what Sloclaps has done is already far more interesting than something more formulaic. They took something old, something familiar, football, and completely reimagined it through a creative lens. Not by layering in more believability, but by stripping it down to the essence of play and then turning the volume up. And that's what makes Rematch already so compelling. In a time where so many studios are obsessed with shelling out the same old AAA nonsense to you, hoping you would spend your hard-earned money on nonsense, consistently chasing the big budget money, Sloclaps made a bold move in the opposite direction. They chose fun, they chose feel, they chose style of a simulation. And honestly, that's kind of gutsy, because it's not the safe route. It's not the crowd pleaser on paper, and what shows on paper is usually all they care about. But what they did is exactly the kind of thinking we need in game development right now. They keep giving us the same type of thing, loads of money, best visuals, and like, hey, here's a familiar game with a familiar character. We've given you the fucking high end of shit that you could possibly imagine. It cost us close to $1 billion to make. Enjoy! We don't care about that. We don't care. Some of the best games that have come out the past 10 years don't look visually good at all, and they're so much fun. Rematch proves that if you can bring something new to the table, even with a concept as worn and overused as football, you can still surprise people. You can still delight them. You can still matter. Now granted, devs have tried this before. Games like Knockout City or Roller Champions gave us unique, energetic takes on sports. Lesser known sports, to be fair, dodgeball and roller derby respectively. And honestly, they were great in their own ways. I honestly really enjoyed Roller Champions, but Ubisoft was behind it, so a fumble was likely. So they fizzled out. Not entirely because the games were bad, they had issues, sure. But maybe because the audience has changed, or they just didn't see the bigger picture and run with it. Players don't just want realism, or games designed to make money out of us. Players want unique takes, aesthetic, energy, God forbid, fun. And Rematch might just understand that. This is where Sloclaps truly shines as a studio. They're feel-smiths, craftsmen of movement, rhythm, and tactile feedback. Their work doesn't just look good on a trailer, it feels good in your hands. And that's a rare talent. Take Sifu, for example. The game didn't succeed because it tried to be the next visual spectacle or a massive open world. It succeeded because it nailed the sensation of combat. Every punch had weight, every dodge was tight and responsive, every animation flowed with purpose, like a choreographed fight scene where you were in control. It was about more than just gameplay. It was about connection. One didn't just play Sifu, they inhabited it. They inhabited it. Now with Rematch, Sloclaps seems to be carrying that same design philosophy into an entirely different genre. They traded first for footballs. But they haven't lost the kinetic energy. Because Rematch is not just about scoring goals. It's about how you move. It's about your positioning, your timing, your awareness of your teammates. It's about the flow of the match, the momentum, the little improvisations, the chemistry that emerges when you pass at the perfect moment and watch that amazing play unfold like a dance. In a world where most sports games feel kinda stiff, Rematch feels like it's aiming for fluidity and expression instead. And that could be the secret to its staying power. Because when a game feels right, when every dash, pass, and finish feels satisfying, that's when it lives longer than its launch week. And that is when it earns a place in someone's personal rotation. And sure, I'm under no illusions, it has its flaws upon release, but it can only polish its flaws up from there. And look, let me just say this, if Rematch takes off, someone out there better finally give us a blitzball game from Final Fantasy X in this style. Oh my god. Underwater Rocket League / football, Fang, come on. Tell me that wouldn't be so bloody awesome. I will die on this hill. Rematch is not for everyone, but that's why I respect it. It's not trying to be something that can be for everyone and therefore the most profitable. Whether it becomes a breakout hit or a weird cult classic, what matters is this: Sloclaps dared to take this on. It dared to get creative. And I will always champion that, because at the end of the day, the games we remember aren't the prettiest ones, it's the boldest ones. I have been your host, Remy, and if you're into some strange ideas and creativity first, please hit the subscribe button and chuck a like there, bro. Cheers, chommies. Cheerio, squires.